Welcome to Unbiased and On the Fence. I'm Shane. Thank you all so much for joining this evening. Let's see here. I am still trying to get everything set up here. Of course, I did want to mention the website, uotf.net, to keep up with the schedules. And as you might have noticed tonight, I am running late behind schedule. Had some 3D things to take care of. I do appreciate everyone joining. Let me see if I can... Oh, wrong thing. Trying to figure out how to put the number up. There we go. Still haven't found my glasses. My vision is better, though. I guess maybe I laid on it wrong that one day or something. Who knows? But I do see better now. And, but I still have old man eyes, so... I'll try to scoot this a little closer so I can see. So big hello and I love you to everyone in the chat. See, it's filling up pretty quick here. And I didn't know if, gosh, I thought about it. I couldn't remember if I had any callers that wanted to call in first. So I apologize if I forgot about you. But the phone lines are indeed open. If you'd like to call in, I'm going to go ahead and open up Facebook. So if there's anyone abroad that would like to call in using Facebook Messenger, that's an option as well. As long as we're friends. If we're not, you can send a friend request. And I will try to accept it really fast so that you can get on the program. You said Michelle Wolf keeps popping up? Oh, yeah, you know what? You have to hit the share button and get a fresh link. That was happening on Twitter. So the workaround I came up with is to post it to Twitter automatically from the dashboard for anyone else who's a streamer and you're running across this problem. Because for some reason, different places you post it to will save it as... just the regular link, YouTube.com, unbiased on the fence /live, I think it is. If you share it like that, it could pull an old thumbnail up from an old broadcast. So what I have to do is post it to Twitter automatically, then click that Twitter link to open the actual video, and then hit the share button and copy that link, which is not the unbiased on the fence live link. So that's sort of the workaround I came up with for anyone who finds that. Definitely. Oh yeah, you took it from Discord. That's how I post it in Discord. I get the Twitter link, I click it, I open YouTube, and then I copy that link over into Discord. Otherwise, it just keeps showing old thumbnails, usually the same one from the most recent video I posted. So that's a way around that. I guess it just caches the thumbnail and reuses it. Okay, let me see. I'm not sure that I even have audio here. Kind of worried about that here. I guess I will see when somebody tries to call. Phone lines 781-4-SHANE-C or 781-474-2632. It's been an interesting week. I've been working on this video that I'm closer to getting it finished, but still not seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. Gosh, it just takes so long. And, you know, although I'm borrowing some of the written stuff, it's still combining a bunch of information together. So it requires me to write a bunch of new stuff anyway. And it just takes a lot of time. It just takes a lot of time. So, although I hoped I could get it up today, now I'm starting to wonder if I'll even have it up tomorrow before the 8 at 8. But if not, I will definitely have it up Sunday, I can imagine. All right, fingers crossed. Because I don't want to rush it, you know what I mean? And I don't want it to be too long, so I'm having to cut it down. And because if videos get too long, people tend to be like, that's enough of that. I don't want to read it. So I'm trying to get enough of it to get the point across, but leave links in the description where if people want to look at the information that I have compiled in the video, they can look into it further on their own. So I can kind of trim it down a little bit, make it more pithy, I think is a good word for it. All right, going to go to the phone lines here. You are live. Who am I talking to, and where are you calling from? Are you there? Hello, this is Shane. You're live. Who am I talking to? Ah. Oh. Yeah, it's actually a bigger delay than if you call into a radio station. You might want to mute the video or it can get pretty confusing. It's like 15 or 20 seconds delayed for us. Yeah, we're good now. So you spell that D-U-O-N? And where are you calling from? Iowa. Awesome. Awesome. I'm so glad you called in. So yeah, it's open phone lines tonight, so pretty much whatever you want to talk about is okay. Oh, wait, they said they can't hear you, and I did unmute you, so let me see what I have going wrong here really fast.
Okay. Oh, you got my Etherium.
Check 1, 2. I think that did it. Let's see.
Yep. Is that us?
Yep, I see it moving now, so that means they'll be able to hear you.
Okay. Do you hear me now?
Yes, I've heard you the whole time. They just couldn't hear you.
Okay, all right. That's good. Oh, that's good. Well, okay, about the Mandela effect. Really, I've only had one that's significant, was the Mandela effect. That was I'm 60, so I remember when it happened, or like when they were... because I'm like, wait a minute, didn't he die? Wait a minute, when did he not die? And then I just sort of said, oh well, that's, because I'm an old, kind of an old lifestyle kind of gal, lived a good life. And so being a little off is not too awfully strange. So, yeah, so then I'm like, when I found out, I'm like, oh, I wasn't imagining that. Other people have felt this too. The Jiffy and I had a discussion after recently you had talked about Skippy and Jif, and I went to the grocery and I said, well, listen, next time we go to the grocery store, let's look up, and because my friend said no, it was Jif and it was Skippy. That's why people think it's Jiffy or Skippy. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, really? Okay. So we went to the grocery store. Both of us are standing, and I forgot to look. We had just been talking about it, and I look over, and up on the top shelf is a jar of Skippy.
Right.
And, just right there, and I'm like, look. And so we're wondering if we weren't getting Jif and Skippy mixed up, but because we also thought it was Jiffy, and he actually thought it was Jif. And I said, "Are you sure?" He goes, "No, I'm pretty darn sure." And he's in his late 60s, so I'm kind of running with that game. But he's pretty funny.
Yeah, that's the funny thing is that different people will remember it differently, and I'm in the boat with you. I can't say for sure I remember it as Jiffy, but when I saw somebody that recreated the logo, it did look familiar, but it's definitely not one of my 100%ers, but it is for other people. They know for certain it was, so I can't really discount the fact that they remember it as Jiffy, because I even felt like that with McDonald's. people remember it as McDonald's, and I was like, oh, come on, you're just making stuff up now, you know. And then somebody recreated the logo, and I saw the logo, and it gave me childhood nostalgia of like leaving church with my dad, wanting to go to McDonald's as it was at the time or whatever. So I don't specifically remember it, but when I saw that logo, it gave me like nostalgia of being like, you know, I want to say like a kindergartner aged kid. So I would say it changed around the late 70s, but all this time people just thought that, you know, they shortened it to make it easier to spell or put it on a sign or whatever. But apparently it's never been McDonald's. It's always just been McDonald's. So I don't know. I know that it's an individual thing, though.
Yeah, it sure is. It's you got me on the thinker, though. You know, you got me on that one, because I go back with it under the chin. The thing clear up by the mouth throws me, and the one on the forehead doesn't get me at all. And though I've tried to find pictures, I'm still like going, I remember it under the chin. But, you know, who knows? Yeah, like you said, we all see it differently. And I'm surprised it's a question, but I mean, I'm not, but you know what I'm saying. I'm not surprised. Right. It fascinates me that, because now, and I'll just get to dwelling on that, like, oh, that's a meditation. Was it under the chin or wasn't it?
Yeah, that's actually my favorite one, because of the residue of people posing next to it, and the statues change, but they've still got their fist to their forehead, and I'm like, come on, that is trippy. How did everybody? There's the one with like the 18 softball girls all with their fist to their forehead, and I'm like, clearly the statue changed, you know, after they took that picture. You know, everybody couldn't get it wrong, could they? You know.
I know. It's just, we do live in an odd world.
Yeah.
Well, I do shiatsu. That's sort of my forte. I've been doing that for almost 24 years now, and so that's been a thing. I've been on my journey. My first book was the Blue Book, you know, the big blue book, and I'm no longer a member of the fellowship of the program of the, you know, but I haven't been for over 15 years. But I've been there for, you know, I did the you know, sobriety thing for over 35 years. But you know, life's all good there. So I've been doing a lot of stuff. I was listening to your Celestian prophecy stuff. I wanted to talk to people about this, because see, I read the whole series. And if you can download the free audiobook on the Shambhala, and that's the 11th insight of the Celestian prophecy. Do you remember? I'm going back a little bit, but that was the best. If you can listen to it on audiobook, it's incredible. But you can't buy it and it can only be sold on cassette, and it's like $35 to buy it on cassette.
Oh, wow.
But so if you can download that, my thing about if you haven't read the whole Celestian prophecy series, one thing that bugged me, even clearer to the 11th, this guy doesn't necessarily get smarter during the whole book. I kept going, oh, come on, you're at the 11th insight, and they're still dragging your stupid, ignorant butt around. You know, and I don't know if that was deliberate, saying, like, you know, how many books, like, over the last, you know, all these last 30-some years, I've been reading all this literature, going through all these new, you know, and all this, and all, you know, all the new, all the new stuff that comes through over all these years, and all the books, and Wayne Dyer's Deepoks, and all these wonderful, and you know, just the gads of material that I've read over these years.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm still, so like 30-some years later, I'm like going, oh my gosh, I still have to be drugged through my stupidity. So I don't know if it's deliberate that the author kept him so stupid clear to the end of the Celestian prophecy, but I don't know. Maybe I'm the only one that feels that way about this guy. But his growth development wasn't much keener than the first day. So if you haven't read the Celestian 11th Insight, that was pretty great.
Now remind me, the very first book only has 9, right? Or is it 10? Is there 10?
There is 10, but the 11th, all I know is the 11th is Shambhala. And most people don't know about that one. And that is the last, the 11th is the last one.
Okay, because I knew there was 2 more books after the actual first one, right?
Yeah. This is the basic Celestian prophecy. Yeah.
Okay.
You have to get other people to. Yeah. Okay. All I know is I made it to the 11th, and that was. I'm still.
Okay, so the 10. There's 10 in the book then, because I thought there was 9, but maybe there is 10.
I don't know what the 10th insight is, come to think of it. If there's the 9th and I know that Shambhala is the 11th, then I guess I just don't remember the 10th right offhand.
Okay, maybe it is its own separate book. It seemed to me that it was like, they had like the first 9, and then there was a separate book for the 2 additional ones. So I just couldn't remember if there was 10 and then 11 and 12, or 9 and then 10 and 11.
Yeah,
that's what I'm
and
confused
Shambhala
about.
was, I think Shambhala, when I had read Shambhala, I didn't even really link it to the Celestian Prophecy series, and because someone had given it to me on audiobook, and I had never even linked it until I'd read the Celestian Prophecy series, and then it's been so long ago, and I still love Shambhala the best out of what I do remember I read from the beginning. But and then that's when it occurred to me that, oh my gosh, this is the 11th insight from the Celestian Prophecy, and so it was called Shambhala by him. So.
Oh, okay.
Again,
yeah, someone's clearing that up. They said that there's 9 in the first book, and then the 10th insight is its own book, and then I guess the 11th is Shambhala.
Oh, good. Thank you. Great.
Yeah, I love this whole
your
think
group.
tank. Yeah, it's like a think tank that we have here. We can figure anything out collectively.
Sweet. Good for us people who have little gaps in our puzzles. Yeah. Okay, so I'll finish up with this. Okay, it was one of my epic moments in synchronicity. Okay, I love this little story. It goes back many years ago, but I haven't had many, but this one was, I just always still takes my breath away. So I get up early in the morning, and I get all dressed. I'm pregnant. I'm with my son now is 26. That one is, and I'm pregnant at the time, and I'm get all cleaned up, and I get this strange outfit on, and I put my hair back really tight. I'm all washed. I'm all just really scoured, and I go in. I sit down on the couch, and I'm sitting there looking out the window, and I'm going, why am I sitting here all cleaned up? I wasn't going anywhere. I had no intention, no idea, and I'm sitting there. I'm going, why am I sitting here? My phone rings. This gal calls me, and she goes, I'm in the hospital. I'm having a baby, and I'm all alone. And I'm like, okay, I'll be right there. and we didn't plan this. I was never involved in her childbirth, or anything like that, just out of nowhere. And I'm literally sitting there waiting, not knowing why. And like I said, my hair was pulled back tight. I'm all ready to go help this woman birth. And so anyway, I thought that was one of those magical moments in my life. And
that is really cool. So you're sitting there ready to go, not even knowing where you're going to have to go.
No, not a clue. So, all those great moments, and like I'm so glad I got to talk with you this evening in your tribe, and I just, moment I saw you and heard your voice, and I see all these wonderful people come up on your I don't type much because everything moves so fast, and it's hard to read everybody, and love you all.
Awesome talking to you. Thank you so much.
Nice tribe you got going, Shane. Good work, and I'm so proud of you.
I'm honored that you're part of it, too. It's wonderful.
All right. Bye, everybody.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.
That's awesome. I love those stories of synchronicity like that because, if I can't think of anything better to let you know that something else is going on. You know what I mean? It's like the things that you don't know, you don't have to worry about because there's some higher benevolent force that does know. And now I see Jamie mentioned the 2 moons. Yeah, he sent me a link to one of Mr. MBB 333's latest videos. I think it was one of his latest videos. And he's talking about 2 moons. Earth has a second moon that is much smaller and just insignificant in size. I don't know. It's news to me. When he said that, I'm like, 2 moons? There's no way. Think about, like, I know I've learned about moons around other planets, and it was always like Earth just had this one moon that always faces us, and it's just weird. Totally a Mandela effect for me. I don't know if it's just the simple fact that we don't see it is really the only reservation I have. I don't know if it's just so small, so far away. I think it's smaller and further away, so we don't ever see it. So when you think of it like that, but I just feel like, we would have heard about it. I don't know. And that's how I am with the Rainbow Mountains, because it's like with the Rainbow Mountains, I was like, maybe I just hadn't heard of it. I don't want to jump on the fact that it's a Mandela effect if it really isn't, or if it's just just a sort of an indication that we're going into sort of this new Earth, and the rainbows popped up. But when I was like when I first heard about it, I started looking into it, and there was just the one in China, and I remember just my jaw dropping. And then when I went to show somebody it in my family or something, I'm like, oh, you haven't heard the Rainbow Mountains? You got to check it out. And it was at like 2 more locations. Like, I don't want to say where and then get it wrong, but I know China was the only one I knew about it first. Let's see here. Oh, is somebody trying to call on? I might not have noticed it. Yeah, I don't have international calling, but you can call through Facebook if you'd like to call and you are not in the area. Trying to see if anybody tried to call. I do have my Facebook open, so you can call that way. Oh, yeah, the number is in the description, guys. If I will put it on the screen as well, but just so you know, the number is just below the video all the time. Let's see here. Yeah, that's how I felt. I've been totally into astronomy and stuff. Just seems like I would have noticed that we had another moon that I hadn't heard of or seen pictures of it, I mean, I know about moons on other planets and stuff. Hey, Michelle Wolf, how are you? I hope you're feeling better. Sending you lots of love, and you've been definitely on my heart, so I hope you're doing well. Let me go back to... Make sure I got my ringer on. Yes, I do. Okay. Let's see. Aaron, what is up, my man? Good to see you. Dust in the Wind. I like that name. Always makes me smile. Thank you, Michelle's Opinions, by the way, for letting me know about the number not on the screen there. Let's see what we got going here. For some reason, I don't hear Facebook ring sometimes, so I gotta switch over here and double check it every now and then. Okay, let's see, 52. Are you guys talking about states? See, that's one of those ones that I always remembered it as 50 states and 2 territories. But when I was investigating that whole thing, I looked it up, and what I considered as our 50th state didn't come. It actually came last, so the 2 territories came before the 50th state. So that really made me question, maybe they were states at some point. Let me see here. And the phone lines are ringing. This is Shane. You're live on the air. Who am I talking to? Hey, Sherry. Let me get you on the screen, or on the audio anyway. How are you doing?
I'm good. I just called to tell y'all a really quick story that's kind of neat.
Let's hear it.
Okay. So Darby and her friend had scheduled to go see Def Leppard and Journey. I was kind of disappointed because I kind of wanted to go, but I had to babysit my grandchildren that day and the next day. And it's a couple hours away, and they were spending the night. So I was like, that's cool. I'll just let them go. Well, Devin came to visit me at babysitting. It was like 4:30 p.m., and he's like, Mom, that thing's showing sold out. Well, we know from past experience that if it says that, call Ticketmaster, because you can. Anyway, let's do it this way. We got 2 tickets for $37. So we're like, okay, we're just going to try to make it. So we drive there and we go. So here's the point. It was just it was very unlikely that we would have went. And then Darby wanted us to meet her on this smoking balcony in between an intermission, so she could just give us a hug or whatever, because they were staying in New Orleans. So we go to meet her, and the smoking balcony is really small, and everybody's like, elbow to elbow, and you can hear people talking, because we're talking. And I swear to God, I wish I had Darby and Devin here to witness. All of a sudden, someone screams at the top of their lungs, "Michael Jackson!"
Really?
And I swear, and me and Darby and Devin heard it, but here's what's weird. The friend that was with Darby, he didn't hear it.
Really?
Really, he didn't hear it, and we heard it. I mean, it was just so weird. Okay, so then time goes on, and I had bought Darby for Christmas. I bought her this. It was from China, and it should have been so much money, and I got it for like $30. It was like a cover to put on your bed, or maybe you would hang it up on the wall. It's humongous, the size of a bedspread. It's all silk, and it's got in it. It's the cover of the Dangerous album of Michael Jackson.
Right.
I bought it for her for Christmas, and she hadn't hung it up yet because she was kind of waiting for the right place and time. So it was in a little, it was folded up nicely and in a little bag thing. Anyway, so long story short, here it is. And we didn't realize it was on Michael Jackson's birthday, because his birthday was just on the 29th. Her cat, her new kitten, got into this cabinet that she's never been in before. And by the way, her name is Blanket, named after Michael's youngest son. And she was like, tearing at something, and you could hear the paper and all. And we figured out the cat was in there. Darby pulls her out, and she was pawing at that thing.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and I said, that's weird. It's like he wants you to hang it up.
Right.
Anyway, yeah, that was all I wanted to tell y'all. It was small, but, hey, it was cool.
Yeah, that's a cool story. That's just wild how he didn't hear it, though.
I know. We keep having little stuff like that happen, just like, I don't know, just strange. And then I think this will be short because I don't want to hold up the phone line, but okay, so Marilyn Hughes is the author of Michael Jackson's Experiences in the Afterlife book. And every time when I contacted her at first to say, oh, thank you for this, because, me, I'm paranoid. I was like, I want to make sure the devil wasn't messing with me. This is a very religious woman, and she had all these religious books, and I went there because, remember, she has out-of-body books for free because she believes it's God's work. And right smack dab in the middle was all the Michael Jackson books. Well, I thanked her so much when that happened, because it gave me some comfort that it was a positive being at the beginning. And whenever I contact her, which has been like 4 or 5 times in the last 6 years, and she always says, you need to read this book, Mysteries of Redemption. You need to read this book. And so anyway, I had ordered the book, but I also had ordered 2 other books. Okay. Well, when we came back from Charlene Richard's grave, which is the little Cajun saint that's right by my house, we were trying to film stuff and take a picture of it and everything for Marilyn and get her some prayer cloth. When I pull up in the driveway, that book was in my mailbox. Well, that doesn't sound like a big deal because I had ordered it. But here's the thing. It was I must have not ordered it from her. I must have accidentally ordered it used. And the address said Moon Escape, which Michael Jackson moonwalked, and then one of his last albums was Escape. So that was weird, and it had 222 in the address.
Oh, wow.
Then, here's the last part. About 5 days later, the other books came in. Somebody had accidentally doubled the order. So there was 5 books in this other box. So getting that one separately was really a coincidence.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and that one was the one I'd made a little video real quick saying I'd got it in, and it made its own thumbnail, and it looked like Jesus.
Yeah, I saw that.
Marilyn's book.
That was wild. Yeah, I saw that. That was wild. Yeah, anybody can...
I have notes, I'm not very good at all that, and I was like, oh my gosh. But I just wanted to tell you all those things real fast.
Yeah, and anybody can check out your channel to see that, because that was pretty wild the way that just coincidentally happened, which most of us don't believe in coincidences, but that was pretty wild.
Right. Yeah, I thought it was cool. But I do have a quick question for you, and I know, and this is off subject, I'm going to let you go. But, so I'm on the, remember you said that we could, I'm trying to get someone, if anybody out there, by the way, can get the 2 shows that we did on Shane's show onto like a DVD so I can save it for my grandchildren and stuff, I'll pay someone to do it if anybody wants to contact me. But I'm trying to, you know, how you said you could download them. Like
Hmm.
I'm on a desktop and I don't find a place to do that.
I will
Just
paste a link into the chat window for you that I use. I used it for music, but I just used it recently for this video I'm working on. I needed some clips from a video, and I normally just record my screen with the screen recorder, but it was so long of a video, and I needed so many pieces of it. I'm like, let me just see if I can use that same program to download it. So basically, I just go to Google. And there's a bunch of services, but the one that you want to use, let's see, I just put in download YouTube
I'm so
videos.
sorry, y'all, to interrupt.
Oh, no, this is fine. I'm sure a lot of people might want to know this, because if you come across a video and you think they might pull it down, you can just go and download it and save it. And some videos won't, like if it's like copyrighted music, like something like that, it might not do it, but most of us
Right.
content creators, you can go ahead and download it. That's how I get most of my music that I listen to off the air. So the website's called onlinevideoconverter.com, but I'm going to paste the link in. So as soon as you get off, you can click it. I'll put it in the chat box. But you
Okay,
just
I
go there.
appreciate that.
You just go there, and then whatever video you're wanting to download, you will you can hit the share button on that video where it says copy link, and then you just copy that
Okay.
link, and then when you open up that link to the onlinevideoconverter.com website, at the very top it says paste link here, and you'll just right click and hit paste, or hit Control V up there, and then the format is under MP3, so it will only download the audio, but if you hit that little down arrow, you can switch it to the video format of MP4, and then it will download the whole video right to your computer.
Oh, that's so cool. I'm going to try that.
Yeah, and
But
then you can just
still,
burn it on a
if it
DVD
doesn't
or
work
whatever.
for me, anybody go on my channel if they're interested, because I would pay you for getting that onto a little thing for me, because it means so much to me, and I'm going to package up them for my grandsons and put them away, because you never know, you know?
Yeah, it'd be nice to
Okay.
have it. Yeah, because if my channel goes down for some reason, then,
Right, yeah,
it's
you never
gone.
know.
Yeah, and
Okay,
I
well,
lost.
look, I love y'all. I don't want to hold up the phone, but thanks for listening to me always, all of you. I appreciate it so much.
Oh, no problem. Our pleasure. Love you to death.
All right,
Bye-bye,
love y'all.
Sherry.
Talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye-bye. Sherry, that's overprotected. I definitely want to check out her channel. I'm gonna call Sadie back here. She called me at the beginning of that phone call. Sadie P in the house. Let me see if I can get a hold of her. Type her name in.
Hey Shane,
Hey Sadie, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Pretty good. Nice to talk to you again.
I know, it's been a long time.
Yeah. Actually, for those who might not remember, the last time I was doing call-in shows, you actually called in and I got to talk to you. So a lot of people might be
Yeah,
new. But
it's been, I think it was like February 13th or something that I called
oh,
in for the first time on Mandela when I was like, oh my gosh, what's happening? I don't understand.
yeah.
And it went, it kind of went from there, and here
So
we are.
so you like actually you were just affected by it when you first called in. So how have you been
Yeah.
doing with this whole crazy phenomenon?
I guess good and bad. You know, I mean, it's been up and down. It's been like a roller coaster, honestly. And that's, you know, you and I we chatted a little bit. You know, I would contact you and be like, I'm ready to tell my story type of thing.
Yeah.
And then I would be like, you know, disappear. And
Yeah.
I
So
was,
what was going on? Where are you calling from, by the way? What
I'm
state?
from Boise, Idaho.
Okay.
So I'm in the Northwest. Um, And this is the call, honestly, I've got to tell you and everybody that I've been debating about for multiple reasons, but something told me to do it now. You're having another call-in show, and it was time, so I decided to contact you and let everybody know what's been going on. So, kind of my story. I don't know how long I have, but
Oh, go ahead. We're not in any big rush.
my story kind of began this year, 2018. I started, getting on YouTube and looking, going down rabbit holes, basically, to put it simply.
Mm-hmm.
People call it conspiracy theories and whatever else. And I went down every rabbit hole you could possibly imagine, and I got lost. I got way, way lost. When it happened, when I found the Mandela effect, I was like, Berenstain Bears? No way! It's not Berenstain, and Sex in the City? It's not Sex and the City, and
Oh, yeah. So you've had
it's
quite a
not.
few of them that you knew right off the bat.
Oh
You're like,
yeah.
no freaking way. Yeah. So some
Oh
people
yeah.
aren't like that. They have like maybe one or two and then they'll talk themselves out of it. So if you
No,
have
it
like
hit
half
me
a
like
dozen or so, then it's like, wait a minute.
it, it hit me like a brick. I saw it started with, I think it was in like December of 2017 and January of 2018. I saw this article on Facebook. I think it was BuzzFeed, and it said Mandela effect, and I'm like, what's this? And it had logos and stuff on there, and I'm like, no way, this is crazy. There were so many, and I just was blown away. And
Mm-hmm.
then I went from that to, you know how YouTube works. You look up one video, and then there's 15,000 others that are related to it, and you're just like, and then auto plays on, and you're just click, 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 and I went from Mandela to UFOs to CERN to Jesus to,
Right.
I mean, I went I covered the rainbow,
Right.
um, and I'm not gonna lie, I got lost. And I'll tell you when it started is I believe it was around February 18th, between the 16th and 18th.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what was happening, planetary or whatever. I don't know if anything was, but I had a dream, and um, I've always had dreams where premonitions. I've had visions and premonitions my whole life, and I just thought it was just a part of life, and that's how it is. And it was never anything that I advertised or told people about, but
Mm-hmm.
I always had dreams reoccurring dreams and things like that. Anyway, I had a dream February 18th or so. I know it was a Saturday, so I'm not looking at a calendar, but it's around that time frame. And it was the most vivid dream I've ever had in my life. I live on, near the West Coast, and I've had a reoccurring dream for probably about 20 years about a tsunami on the West Coast.
Mm-hmm.
And I was always on the West Coast, and I was always there when it happened, and that it happened in this dream, but this dream was very different. It was a nuclear bomb that went off on the West Coast, and pretty much everybody died. And it was so sudden and so fast, nobody knew. Because there was so much, I guess, I'm looking back at it now,
Mm-hmm.
there's so much life that was lost at the same time, and nobody realized it, type of thing. And I was in that mind frame, and I literally woke up thinking, and this is gonna sound crazy. I'm gonna sound crazy during this call, but
It's okay.
uh,
You're in the right group. We all sound crazy.
I literally woke up that morning thinking, "Oh my God, we all died. Oh my God, we all died, and nobody realizes it except me right now, who I haven't talked to anybody, and I'm the only one that knows," type of thing. The
So it
whole
was
point is,
just real vivid to where you woke up feeling like that?
oh yeah, yeah. I
Oh,
woke
wow.
up and I saw this. I knew what was happening. I was on the West Coast in my dream. I was on the West Coast like I usually was, um, and it was in the Oregon region. I was on the Oregon coast.
Which Idaho's next to Oregon, isn't it? Or near it?
It is. Yep,
Okay.
Oregon and Washington. Yeah.
Hmm.
And this recurring dream that I've had for about 20 years has always been on the West Coast anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So it was my regular reoccurring dream, but this one, it wasn't a tsunami. It was a bomb that went off, and a nuclear bomb. I mean, who knows what happens when that happens, right? Like, how would you even know?
Right.
So
Be over
I woke
before
up
you even knew
thinking,
it.
yeah, like who really? Nobody has evidence of what happens after the fact. So I woke up thinking, oh my God, we're dead. Like, and nobody knows it. And I went on this journey, and I won't go into detail because it's just too long and too crazy. Maybe I'll write a book one day. I don't know. But I went off the rails pretty much. I left my house. I left my job. I have a good job. I have a good career. I work from home. I work for a corporate. I've been in the corporate world since I was 18 years old. I make good money. I have a good life. And I woke up that morning and I was like, this is all fake. Everything's fake. Everything's a lie. This job isn't real. Money doesn't exist. It's all a big lie.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I'm dead, and I have never. Okay, let me backtrack a little bit. I grew up with zero religion. I was never baptized, never opened a Bible, never seen a Bible,
Mm-hmm.
none of it. Zero. And I remember when I was about, I don't know, 10 years old or something, I asked my mom, from hearing people at school, what'd you do this weekend? Oh, blah, 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 and then we went to church.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, well, what's church? Like, what's that? I don't even know. And I asked my mom one day, and I learned about baptism a little bit. I'd heard about it.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, Mom, like, why wasn't I baptized? What's this whole thing? And she said, well, and my mom's Catholic. She was baptized Catholic. My dad is Baptist. So, but religion was never talked about. And I asked her, like, why weren't we baptized? And she was like, well, we want you guys. There's 5 of us kids in the family, and
Mm-hmm.
none of us were baptized, and none of us have middle names either.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, why weren't we baptized? And she said, well, we want you guys to choose whatever you want to choose when you're ready to choose it. And I was like, okay, whatever. I didn't, whatever, I don't know. And I kind of grew up and I levitated, I guess, towards spirituality and like tarot cards and angel cards and crystals. And
Mm-hmm.
I had these gifts and I had these premonitions and visions, and I just assumed that everybody saw the same things and dreamt the same things and the same things happened. And it wasn't until I was in my 20s that I realized that, my early 20s, that this isn't normal, quote
Right.
unquote normal for people. So I was very confused when this happened early this year. I had the shame and I'm like, oh my God, I'm dead. Oh my God, I haven't been baptized.
Right.
Maybe that's why I'm still here. And that's the thought process that I went off of. So I went on this journey of, I've got to find Jesus. I guess that's the answer because I'm still here, type of thing.
Right.
So I did a lot of different crazy things, and I'm not going to name any names. There are people in this chat and on this channel, and even you. I talked to you at one point
Mm-hmm.
during this when I was going through it, if you recall. I was out of it. I'm looking back at it now, and I'm like, oh my God, was I going through like some psychotic stage? Like, is this what happens to like crazy people, and this is why they get locked up?
Definitely. Yeah, I've thought that a few times. I'm like, man, I'm gonna have to start playing along because nobody was getting it. Nobody was freaking out like I was, and I wasn't
Yeah.
freaking out in a bad way, but I considered all the things you're talking about, like death and all of that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I really 150% thought that this was real and this was happening, and my job didn't really exist. I work from home, like I said, and this was all fake. And I got in the car. Long story short, was what happened. I ended up in the mountains and hot springs and all kinds of shit. But I actually ended up in Oregon, and I'm not gonna name names for disclosure reasons, but I ended up in Oregon, in Salem, Oregon, and I met a good friend, and my eyes were kind of opened, and again, I was following, again, this was in February, I was following there was a whole 5D thing going on. And
Yeah,
I'm
this
like,
is
what?
earlier this year. Somebody's asking what year. This is just
Yeah,
February of this year. This just
it's,
happened,
it's just happened. Yeah,
Yeah.
this is very recent. So I was on the train, I guess you want to say. And I apologize, I can't see chat right now. I'm on my phone and
Oh, no
I
problem.
can't see anything, so I apologize if anybody's asking questions to me. But I was on this whole 5D chain, and I'm like, 5D, it's all on 5D. I'm like, oh my God, maybe that's what it is. We're going from 3D to 5D because we died, and I'm trying to put this together in my mind, and oh my God, we're dead, and nobody knows. And
Mm-hmm.
um, I ended up in Oregon at a good friend's house who's now a good friend, and I met him through these means that we are on right now.
Mm-hmm.
And for the first time in my life, I was open to the Bible. And this isn't gonna be a religious thing at all. I don't believe in religion. I'm not baptized or anything like that. Um, but it, it, it was a, I don't know how to put it into words. It was a huge eye opener for me. I almost, looking back at it now, I feel like I was being deceived the whole time by this craziness. And then, I was open to, usually before this, somebody would bring up Jesus or bring up a Bible and be like, oh God, here we go.
Yeah.
That's how I was raised. That's just what I knew in my
Right.
life. And it happened, they brought out a Bible and I'm like, oh no. Just in my mind, I'm like, oh, here we go. And yeah, but for some reason, the way that this person was wording things, it made sense to me, and it wasn't in a religious form. It wasn't about church. It wasn't about anything like that. It was a story. It was a story, which I knew nothing about. I didn't know any facts or anything about what the Bible was about. I didn't understand any of it. I knew nothing.
Right.
So I had a clean slate. And for some reason, after that we talked, and this was hours and hours of talking, um, I don't know. It's an unexplainable thing that this peace and comfort came over me, and I was like, oh my God, what have I been doing? Like for the past 2, 3 weeks, oh my God, what have I been doing? Like I left my house, I left my job, I totally just disappeared.
Right.
And I left my family. I was like, none of it. I'm like, what am I doing? All of a sudden, this whoosh just like came over me, and I'm like, holy crap, why am I in Oregon? Like, what am I doing here? And it's like everything came back to reality.
Mm.
And I called my work. I'm like, do I still have a job? And they were like, oh my God, are you alive? And I was basically, a no call, no show for 2.5 weeks. And I'm like, oh my God, do I still have a job? And they were like, are you alive? Are you okay? And I'm like, yeah, like I'm fine. And I didn't know what to say. Like, what do you say?
Right.
And my job is so cool. He was like, it's okay. He's like, what happened? And I'm like, I didn't know. I'm like, the only thing that I could think of, I was like, I've been on a spiritual journey. Like, what? And
Oh my
I've been on
God.
a spiritual journey, and he's like, what? And I'm like, that's all I can say. I've been on a spiritual journey, and do I still have a job? And he's like, it's okay, it's cool, yeah, absolutely. Can you be at work tomorrow? And I'm like, yeah, I could totally get in the car right now and be home in like 8 hours, and I'll be good. And he's like, okay, cool.
Oh my
That's the
God.
kind of company I work for. They're awesome, and thank God. But yeah, I completely went off the rails, and during that time, I know that you and I talked, and that was on MeWe.
Right.
And that's when I was going through a highly paranoia stage about, my being on my phone, and I was taking the SIM card out of my phone, and like, oh my God, I'm being tracked and I'm being listened to, and all this crap, and
Yeah, I tried to comfort you, but I could tell you were freaking out about it a little bit.
oh yeah, I was out of it. I was
Like,
totally, when
look,
I
I've
talked
I've
to
been at this
you.
for a year. It's cool, you know. I felt like
Yeah,
this at
thank
first
God.
too.
Yeah, because I called, I don't even remember what time it was. God knows what time it was. And I called you like in the middle of the night, and I'm like, Shane, oh my God. I just have, I never, I kind of, that's the weird thing. I have kind of broken memories about all of this and what happened, and I
You
don't know if it's
weren't
trying
you
to,
weren't getting any sleep, is what it was. You were freaked out, and I
yeah,
think that
yeah,
really messed with your head too. Just not
yeah.
having any sleep and trying to
And I
figure
was,
it out and stuff.
yeah. And I was following all these numbers, the 1111 and the 333 and the 444 and the 222, and I was seeing it everywhere. And then the songs on the radio, and I was just like decoding everything. And I remember when I was talking to you, I was like, just write this. I think I told you, like, just write all this down. I'm just
No, no,
decoding
you
everything.
sent me a picture of your notes. Remember?
Oh, yeah, no, I don't.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you had sent me all these notes that you jotted down, and I could tell you were like freaking out about it. I was just totally trying to make you relax
I
about it, but I could tell you were just, doing
Thank
your thing
God.
or whatever.
I was not here. That's the thing. And that's the crazy thing. I still can't even pinpoint it right now, like what happened. I really can't. There's no explanation for me. It
Right.
makes sense, you know.
Yeah. It's
But I
it's a
was,
strain on the brain when you realize it, because you're like, what's
yeah,
real anymore, and
yeah,
it's a
that's what
trip.
it was like. It was like my brain opened up 200%, and I could feel everything and think everything that was happening, and I saw everything. And people talk about the Matrix and everything else. I was pulled back from all of that. I saw all of it, and I was trying to decode it, and I felt, at the time, it felt normal. Looking back at it now, I'm like, holy crap, like what the hell? Like I probably should have been like taken to the hospital, type of thing.
Good thing you weren't actually.
I know, because, and
Yeah,
it easily could have happened.
they
I'm
would
not
have
gonna lie.
medicated you and stuff, and then God
Oh
only
yeah,
knows where you would have been.
yep.
So,
They would have doped me up, and I would have lost my job, and I would have been living in my parents' basement, and
and
like,
see, here's the
the
thing.
whole
Here's the
bit.
thing. People that don't see this happening, they're like, "What? What are you freaking out about?" It's like, dude, when you really, and I was like that too before I actually saw it. I'm like, Fruit Loops. I mean, I don't know,
Yeah,
and I knew it had changed, but in my mind, I didn't really know. I
yeah,
knew it wasn't like that, but in my mind, I just rationalized it. I'm like, I just have to be
yeah,
mistaken. That's impossible that it changed. So I
yeah,
couldn't really realize it for like a year, and I realized it about a year before you. So I'd known about it for 2 years, but it took me like a year of once that statue changed and I saw it, and then you get it. You're like, now I see why people are freaking out because I've seen videos of
yeah,
like that one Matrix chick. She was really freaking out in the beginning, and I was like, why is she freaking out about this? I don't get. But now I do. Once you see it happening, you're
right,
like, your
yeah.
reality is
It's
changing.
it's almost like once you go through it, you don't know until you've experienced it, right? So
Yeah.
8 months ago, if I would have been listening to this channel and the people calling in, or if I would have been listening to me calling in, I'd have been like, wow, this bitch is crazy. Like, wow, she should
No, you
totally
didn't
get off
sound all that crazy on
the
when you first called in, but when you called me on MeWe a little bit later, I don't know if it was a
Yeah,
day or two later, you were really it was starting to really hit you, I think,
I was out of it
and
then.
you hadn't had
I'm
sleep, and I was like, just try to
100.
get some rest. I tried to get
Well,
you to get
yeah.
some rest, if you
Yeah.
remember. I was like, try to get some sleep. It's okay.
Yeah,
So
100%. I was not, it wasn't me. You know what I
right.
mean?
Oh
And
yeah,
what
yeah.
that's how I look at it now. Like, that wasn't me. Like, I felt like something took over. So I have a whole new understanding of quote unquote mental illness at this point because
Yeah, totally.
I'm like, wow, dude, the people in the tin hats, holy shit, they're they've been right the whole time, and we've been just putting them in cages,
I know. I
and
know, totally. I'm
I
like, those people have their eyes open is the problem. And they're
yeah,
just like,
yeah,
they're
and that's
drugging
what
them
it
and
is.
closing their eyes.
And granted, I'm not putting a damper on any, people have mental illnesses. It's a real thing, and
Yeah.
it's not about that. I'm not discarding that fact and that medication isn't needed and things like that. But
Probably not as
it,
much as it's
yeah,
prescribed, though.
it's not right. Yeah, it's nowhere near the amount that really is like prescribed to the people. depression, anxiety, all of that. Yes, it's a real thing, but no, it's not this common. You know what I mean? Like,
Oh
it
yeah.
seems like everybody in this country and around the world is like, oh, I have anxiety and depression. Yeah, what pill do you take type of thing? And,
Yeah.
it's kind of a comparison thing. I remember that, like, I don't know, in work, I was in a corporate office and I'm a smoker, I hate to say that, but I am. And we're out smoking, and there's like 15 of us. And it's like, yeah, what are you taking? Oh, well, you know, whatever. I mean,
Right.
there's a list of them, right? And we've
Hmm.
all tried them and been on them, and oh, this works for me, and that one made me tired, and that one made me,
Right.
numb, and da 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 da. And I really, yes, I'm not discrediting prescription medication because if you need it, you need it. But um, I stopped taking. I've been on medication since I was 17 years old.
Hmm.
So I was diagnosed with major depression at 17. How is I don't know why. Like I didn't have. Well, granted, I have a past. I'm not going to get into that, but I have. Everybody has a past and issues and trauma
Hmm.
and things like that. But it was something that I dealt with for a long time, and I finally decided in the middle of last year, like I don't want to take a pill every day. Like
Yeah.
I don't want to. I don't want to depend on this medication to feel normal. Like what is normal anyway? And so I decided, and I tapered off of my medication at the end of last year, and then I finally got off of it, and
Oh, and
that's
then
another
this
thing I thought.
happens.
Yeah, and then yeah, right. So that's another thing I thought about, like, oh, and then I looked at the side effects, like you're quitting this medication, and I was very
Oh, you poor
conscious
thing. I
about it.
feel so bad for you. I got off of it after I realized it. I'm like, I was so amped up from seeing it happen. I was
Yeah,
on ADHD medicine, and it amps you up. And I'm like, I don't need to be any more amped up than this Mandela effect has me. So I got
yeah,
off of it. And
it
since I quit
changes
my job, I
stuff.
couldn't afford it anymore anyway. So thank
It
God I
just
was able to get off
changes
of it.
stuff. Yeah, and this isn't something that I just like, oh, I stopped taking my pills and I got all these side. No, like I talked to my doctor in the last year when I thought about getting off of this, and I started like tapering down, tapering down. I got to a very, very low dosage type of thing, and then I eventually came off of it. So it wasn't one of those things where, oh, I'm gonna stop taking my pills, and then I go, psychotic or whatever. But it was something very tapered and monitored, and it wasn't, and I looked up after, months after the fact. I'm like, oh my God, is this what happened when I stopped taking my pills? Is this a side effect,
Right.
And no, it wasn't. Like I was on a very mild, very nothing, it wasn't, those weren't side effects. The thing that happened to me was not side effects of just, stopping or tapering off this medication. It wasn't. So I'm like, I'm not just, I'm not saying, oh, it might have had something to do with it. It might have. I don't know.
Hmm.
But where I'm at now, I'm in a good place now, spiritually. I've gone through, like I said, I've left all the rabbit holes things behind, and I'm not going to say I'm on one single path and I believe one thing because I don't believe in that. I am a very still open-minded person, and I'm very open-minded to everybody's beliefs,
Hmm.
whatever you believe in, as long as it's not demonic type of thing.
Right.
But anything is possible. Anything and everything is possible, and I realize that. And as long as it's of goodness and love, it doesn't really matter.
Well, you were
Um,
awakened for some reason, and the fact that you have a history of, just being more connected without all the spiritual path to say, well, I was connected because I was living a spiritual path or I was ultra religious, and
right.
you had those connections without all that baggage. So I
Yeah.
think you're awake for a reason. I think you're like one of these first responders, like many of us feel like that
Yeah.
we're seeing this for a reason. Our eyes are open for a reason, and I think probably you went through that just so when other people are going through it,
Mhm.
you can say I was right where you are. That's how I felt when I was talking to you at that time. I was like, hey,
Yeah.
I didn't quite freak out as bad as you freaked out about it, but I was,
Well, I
I
remember you
understood
saying
it.
you're like, I think we all woke up at this time for a reason, and I'm like, yeah, we did. I don't know what's happening, like I don't know what's happened, but it's true because when I joined yours, and I remember telling you, I'm like, I think I told you to write this down too. I said your channel is a platform. I remember that. I
Hmm.
remember saying you're the platform. Your channel is the platform. I think it's the platform for this.
Mm-hmm.
And I discarded that, after months, going through up and downs and everything else. But I'm going to go ahead and go back to that because I think it is.
Mm-hmm.
I think your channel is the platform for this, whatever it is.
Yeah. Like an anchor so that we can feel normal throughout all these crazy times, and we can communicate with one another and say, hey, I'm going through this too. And we
not
don't
be alone.
Yeah, nobody knows for sure, and everybody's welcome to bring whatever worldviews they have. They don't have to worry about, being criticized, and we can just at least be here for each other despite all of our differences.
Because honestly, and I'm going to say that's the hardest part for me personally, is feeling like you're so alone in this, because I don't know what it is. Once you open your eyes, it's you feel very alone. You feel isolated, and like nobody can understand you, and your family doesn't get it, and your friends are like, what the hell?
Right.
And there's very, very few people that are in your daily life, if any, that understand you and understand what you see and what you feel. So I think that this channel, your channel on YouTube, is it's an excellent outlet for us. And I want to thank you for having it, because
I'm honored.
It's a very, I'm not going to lie. I've been off of your channel for a couple of months, and I don't really want to go into the reasoning why, because I'm not like that. I don't want to go into the reasoning why, but I turned off of the channel. Oh, I will. Fuck it. It's because of Sam. And I have nothing against Nathan or anything like that. I have nothing. He's a good person. It's nothing like that. But when that came up, there was a feeling and an emotion and a vibration that I got that turned me off, and I felt like I couldn't be in the chat. I couldn't be a part of this. Not necessarily just on when he was on, but I felt it around the entirety of your channel. I'm not gonna lie. So I had heard Jose. I'm gonna call out Jose. I love Jose. She, we go on the Lightworker chat on her channel, and they were talking about, oh, did you see the show last night on Shane's? And I'm like, well, no, not really, because I haven't been watching or connected anymore. It's been a long time. And I watched the video that you put out about that, and there was like this big weight, honestly, that I saw being lifted, and I was like, oh, finally. You know what I mean? Like, finally, I can go back, and that's how I felt. And
well, that's cool. You got to follow that intuition, and it was a really important journey for me. I mean, people say, well, do you feel like you made a mistake? I'm like, no, I've learned so much from that experience, because
for sure.
I had sort of, I guess, ignored that part of what can actually be a danger to us, as and I was really, it was a great experience to sort of hone in on my intuition, and
and props to you, because you're being unbiased and on the fence, right? And you're the platform for all kinds of different views.
Mm-hmm.
And there's no fault, on your part.
And there was a definite shift there. I mean, at first it was, check this out if you want and experience this, and, everyone get their own messages. And then it sort of shifted into, hey, it's us and them, and I've got all the messages. Like, whoa, wait a minute now.
It shifts into like a kind of a quote unquote following, right? Like,
exactly,
you gotta be exactly. Like, you gotta be real careful. There's a very fine line between, like, okay, this
he said to drink this Kool-Aid. No, I'm just playing.
Right,
but yeah,
right.
it's it kind of was. It's like the Sam's Water thing was sort of drink the Sam's Water.
Yeah, I think that's where people have to be real careful about their own. It comes from the inside. It comes from you. Like, you don't need to jump on a bandwagon. The bandwagons are the rabbit holes, right? There's all kinds of different names for the same thing.
Yeah.
You can't just jump into one little hole and be like, oh, I 100%. I've never been like that. I've never been like 100% believe this and 100% believe that and discredit everything else. Which I think is what you're like as well.
Yeah, definitely.
But it kind of took on its own
Yeah, it's like the
form.
unbiased on the fence is like, considering everything but falling for nothing. And, so I
Right.
was just letting them present a story. I thought it was interesting. And then you could
And it
tell there was
was.
something happening. I'm like, something's clearly happening here. I didn't know what it was. But as soon as
Right.
it sort of took this turn where we see these things have happened in history over and over again, I'm like, look, this isn't much different than what we've seen with, and I could name half a dozen different instances where it did the same exact thing. And I'm like, look, I
Yeah.
need to hop off the ship here or the
Yeah.
ark or whatever.
I mean, I don't want to be that person, but I was hoping and waiting for you.
You're not the only one. I was reading the comments and people were like, finally.
Finally. Yeah, I know that I wasn't the only one, and
Yeah.
but I decided to completely disconnect because I couldn't do it.
Hmm.
And that's just me personally. I couldn't do it, but that's what I'm saying. To each his own. You believe what you want to believe. You hear what you want to hear. That's fine.
Hmm.
But be careful,
Yeah.
because
And I don't
you
knock
can.
anybody that still wants to do it. It wasn't even really
Oh,
the
me either.
communications that had a problem with it. It was sort of like ignore your messages, and even if it
Yeah.
doesn't resonate, follow this person's messages. And that's sort of where, like, look,
Well,
everybody's got to follow their own heart here with
exactly.
this.
That's what I think it boils down to is, you don't listen to somebody else's. Like
Right.
everybody has their own guidance, right? Everybody has
Totally.
their own angels, their own messengers, their own guidance, their own God, whatever it is.
Hmm.
You can't, you have to follow your own. It has to come from within and within yourself and everything around you. But when you start leeching on to other people's beliefs and other people's system, which is, it's not saying it's a bad thing, but you have to be the observer. You have to learn how to be the observer rather than the participant in
Yeah.
every single thing that you come across. And that's one big, huge lesson that I've learned
Yeah.
this year, honestly, because I was jumping in, I was jumping in head first to all these rabbit holes. I'm like, oh, that's the way it is. Oh, that's the way it is. No, this is how it is. And aliens are gonna come down, and like I got into the whole. And the Earth is flat. Oh my God, and I got into, and I'm not discrediting any of that. You know what I'm saying? But for me personally, it didn't work out.
All right. Yeah, there's a lot of theories out there, and I think if you sort of can just, take them and put them on the shelf, it helps you see them more clearly. But as soon as you
It does.
subscribe to one, then you start sort of throwing out other ideas. And, I don't know, one of the things is timelines, and a lot of the theories that people come up with, it doesn't make sense with the residue of the thinker. I'm like, well, if we were in a different timeline and we switched to this timeline, why would people be still posing next to the
Right.
statue in the old way? I'm like, please just make that make sense so I can understand this timeline thing. And no one ever really has an answer for that.
Yeah, and that's what I've learned is nobody really knows, and
Yeah.
that's the really hard thing about Mandela. I've honestly let Mandela go a little bit, a lot, because it's too much. You know what I mean? Like,
Oh, yeah.
there's Mandela videos every day, and you're like, oh, the Statue of Liberty, and oh, this book used to be like this, and oh, this movie used to be like that, and this phrase used to be like that, and you're like, oh my God, I remember this, and then you're like, well, wait a minute, do I remember that? And then I'm thinking, well, how powerful is the power of suggestion? So you can go into that rabbit hole too, right?
Yeah.
And you just don't. And I took a step back and I was like, you know what? I don't know. Nobody knows, and that's okay. That's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay to not know. It's okay to not have the answer because nobody really does. We just have our opinions and our perceptions and how we perceive this world and this life and everything that's in it. And all we can do at this point is share it and accept it, you
Yeah.
know. Um, if you're gonna fight it, and that's the division in this world right now is insane, and we all know it for
Yeah.
multiple reasons.
That's what
And
this video I'm working on is about, is the whole division of everything. And it's like everything, no matter
it's
what the group
crazy.
is, comes back to dividing. It's us and them.
Yeah.
And that's the whole
And
problem with the world,
you know, I
really.
understand being I understand being very strong about opinions, right? People are opinionated. I get that. I respect that. But don't disrespect somebody else's opinion if it doesn't agree with yours. You
Yeah.
know,
Or try to push it on
agree
them. Yeah.
agree to disagree. And I'm getting that too. I've always said agree to disagree, but I said I saw that today on Michelle Wolf's the new video that she put out for her channel, and agree to disagree. That's
Yeah.
okay. That's how it should be. It shouldn't be like black and white, and
I haven't
fighting.
seen it. I got to check that out.
Yeah, she just posted it. I think right before I called, she posted it maybe about half hour before.
Oh, okay. I probably just didn't see it. I've been so involved with working on this video. I've been
Yeah,
on that. I
yeah,
haven't got to visit around very much. So, but yeah,
yeah,
and then just keeping up with comments and stuff like that can be pretty in the emails. So I try not to get behind. It's so hard to catch up once you get behind. You're like, oh, I got all these emails that I got to respond to.
I'm sure. I'm sure. I don't think I don't have anything on my channel. Just so you guys know, like there's nothing cool, but I'm not gonna be that person that's making you know
Oh yeah,
broadcasts and stuff every day or every other day. I'm not
yeah,
gonna be that person. Maybe I will one day. I don't know. I'm not gonna discredit, put that out there. But um, I guess I just want to end with I've had quite a journey thus far, and it's only been 2018. So um, the people that say, "Oh, I've been awake since 2012 and 2013, 14, 15, and 16." I feel for you because if you've had any if you've had any kind of experience like I have
oh
in the
yeah,
past 8 months, I feel for you. But this is getting better, I think, for everybody because everybody again is on their own journey and they see things differently and they're going at their own pace and everything else. It's only going to get better from here, is my perspective. But I've had a hell of a time, in the past few months, and I guess I just wanted to call and share that with you and touch base with you again because I know it's been a long time
yeah,
since
oh
we
yeah,
talked,
and I'm glad you're back. And
and I was out of it for a while.
yeah, but yeah, we're here for other people that just wake up too, and it's hard to believe that people still aren't realizing it's happening, and it's been going on for
Yeah,
so long, and it's like,
yeah,
I don't know, are people still waking up? But I think they are every
yeah.
day. So
Every day, and that's what I think is happening. I've seen so much growth since I, woke up. I went from, like I said, Mandela effect of like, oh my God, what's happening, to all these rabbit holes to just, oh my God, like, and it I want to say coming back down to reality, but it's not really because I'm back in the reality, but I see I see everything else too, but I'm
yeah,
able to function.
yeah.
Function normally, I guess, if you want to say so.
Yeah, that's awesome
Um,
because it is a little hard to pull yourself out of it, and it does get better over time.
it
And
is,
that's what I tell people. It's like, I know you're freaking out
yeah,
now, but it will get better over time. Just to relax and start looking at the good side, because we wouldn't be here all together talking right now if it weren't for that. So there's some good that's coming out of it.
oh
We're
yeah,
all being brought
absolutely. I
together,
mean,
and
look at me, right? Like I called in early February, and I was out of my mind, and now I'm just like, I get it. You know what? I'm gonna take that back. I'm never gonna say I get it because I'll never get it, but I have a much more higher understanding of what's happening, and
oh
it
yeah,
is happening to more people every day. People are waking up, whether they're talking about it or not, whether they're on YouTube and finding you or not. It's happening.
well, what do you
Um,
feel like? Where are you sitting at right now? I know you don't think you know for sure, but what do you feel like it is? Do you feel like everything's changing, or
well, yes and no, right? So it depends on your perception. To me, personally, I think it's all about personal perception. I could be standing here looking at a tree, right, and standing right next to you, and you might see something else.
yeah,
That that's the thing. It's all about your perception, and I feel that it is definitely about vibration. It is about a higher vibration. But to me, the higher vibrations, which is kind of simple, you have the happiness, the joy, the love, which is the higher vibration, for example, and then you have the lower vibration, which is fear and loneliness, and guilt and shame. It's just like on this scale, right? So I do feel that when you're stuck, and it's very easy to get stuck, everybody does,
yeah,
in guilt and shame and your self-worth is low or whatever it is, you get stuck down there, and what your vibration, we're all energy. You can't deny that. Like, we're all energy.
Mm-hmm.
We put out some kind of energy field. I'm a big believer of chakras, auras. We all carry our own energy. If you're carrying around negative energy, you're going to spread negative energy, or you're going to want to.
Totally.
That energy is going to want to multiply, right? If you're carrying around higher energy, you're going to spread out higher energy. But one thing I think that sensitive people or light workers like us, you have to be very careful when you walk out the door. If you're walking out this big bright light, which I think most of us are, you're going to attract darker things to you, and you have to be prepared for that.
Yeah.
If you're not prepared for that, things will happen. And it happened to me. And I think that's what happened, is I was so bright and so clueless, you know what I mean? I wasn't educated on it. I was so bright, and I walked out the door, and I got attacked.
Right.
And I didn't know what to do. And I was stuck in this loop, and I felt like I was in a movie. I literally felt like I was in a movie.
Yeah.
And that's what it feels like when you have that moment of, oh my God, I feel like I'm in a movie. Like,
yeah, they call it surreal.
Real.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is so surreal. This isn't real. Like, and I was talking to a friend today who's also a light worker, and she's having a hard time, and it came to me today actually that, those movie feelings is like what I like to call them. You feel like you're in a movie, and like, oh man, you're looking around and you're like, oh, what's next? Like, is a spaceship gonna come out of the sky, or whatever. Those are the moments that I think we need to pay attention to when you feel that, because I think it's something higher telling us that, yeah, it is like a movie, and yeah, what's in movies? Actors. There's actors around you that aren't real, that are not real. So that's kind of something that was kind of an epiphany that I had today, is that I think I feel this way when I'm in this movie scene, that it's a sign to me to look around and be like, yeah, these are actors. These are totally actors, and this isn't real, and I need to pay attention and take a step back, because it's almost, my mom always told me, if it's too good to be true, it usually is.
Yeah.
And there are things like that happen in life, and you're like, oh my God. And granted, there are things that happen that you're like, oh my God, this happened, and it's real, and it's awesome. But I think that overall it's about vibration, and being on a higher vibration, carrying your higher energy, and not getting affected by the lower vibes.
Yeah, and I think at some point, if you can actually, sure, you can get deceived and stuff, but if you're like rolling around with high vibes, I think you become immune to certain types of attacks. I just don't think you're within.
You do.
They become ankle biters at that point, and you just got to make sure you don't get sucked down to that level.
Right, they'll stop fighting, basically.
And they won't be able to feed off of you either. So, we've got the unseen to think about, and then, I don't know if you were talking about the scene, like NPCs, non-player characters walking around that don't seem to get it. They're just background people or whatever. So, a lot of theories floating around, and I definitely consider them all, but, not sure about...
And that's the weird thing, is that they're all connected, right, in some way. And it's all about what it comes down to. Your personal perception. How are you going to perceive that?
I think you're going to resonate with this video I'm working on. It'll probably be, I probably won't get it out tomorrow. It'll probably be the next day, but it dives into, were you with me when, oh no, it came out last year, but I covered the Wingmakers material last year.
Oh, I didn't see that.
Yeah, so it's going to be, I'm going to go into that a little bit deeper, because I think it's becoming more and more relevant as time goes on, and it really points out the fact that separation is our biggest enemy right now.
It is. It really is.
Because if you think about it, all the worldviews and everything are there to unite us, but in separation, whether it's a religion or a worldview.
Or political status.
Exactly. All of it is there to unite, but in a separate, it's us and them. We're together, they're separate. And that's sort of our, loosh, as Overprotected's talking about, the energy they like to feed on you.
Yeah, it's really separated, even though it may seem, like, oh, I bring everybody together. It's really not. And, a lot of things aren't.
Right.
And it's just separating us into bigger groups. And, I mean, you could probably find 10,000 YouTube videos about this, you know what I mean? About grouping and then subgrouping and subgrouping that and subgrouping that. And you basically come out to the light and the dark, right? I mean, that's what it kind of.
And it's actually getting worse. People are dividing
it
into more and more groups as people come together online. They're like, oh, hey, I found, and that's sort of the danger with us. We want to come together, but then spread that unity around and not, and everyone's welcomed here. So, I mean, it's not like it's us and them, but.
I don't think it's a danger, though. I think that's the thing that's happening right now is we're all coming together. And, I say, God bless the internet, but at the same time, I'm sick of the internet. You know what I'm saying? Like, I have days where I'm like, oh my God, I hate the internet. Like, I hate social media. I hate the news. I hate it all.
I think most of us do. Like, I hate social media, even though it's just, it's not like it sounds social, a way of connecting. It's, but
that's how but you remember years ago, that's how it started. It's like, oh my gosh, I can connect with my family. I can connect with my friends. I can see what they're doing every day.
But now you don't connect anymore because you're like, I just talked to him on Facebook. I don't need to call him.
And it's evolved into this whole other huge ball of social, like mainstream media, social media. And people are just like jumping on the bandwagon, right? It's another little rabbit hole. There are different kind of rabbit holes.
Yeah.
And you gotta be real careful and try to take a step back and say, am I on the light side of this, or am I on the dark side of this?
Yeah.
And it's all about perception, I think. I know it is. I know it's about perception, and whether or not you're either a good person or you're not. It's what I'm. You can't. At this point, there's kind of no gray. I mean, there is a gray, and there's a lot of, that's the thing, there's a lot of people that are in the gray, right?
Yeah, and I think a lot of great people are stuck in stuff, whether it be religion. Like, I know tons of religious people that are great people, but they just don't realize that they're sort of in a stagnant state in their spiritual growth or whatever, and that's for them to, I'm not judging them, I'm just saying that, you can't put a blanket statement on it and say, oh, just because, the Pope is bad, all Christians are bad, or something along those lines,
And that's, again, it comes back to your personal perception, right? Are you going to wrap everybody in that blanket?
Right.
Or are you going to say, oh, okay, well, that's his or her view, and I'm going to move on, and I'm not going to wrap everybody in that blanket.
Yeah.
And I've learned a lot. I've learned a lot in this past year, and
totally.
It's to be, I'm still very open-minded, but I'm not taking everything literally. Is an important point, because I did for a long time. Like, oh my God, that's really happening, and this is the way it is, and I'm going down that road.
Oh,
yeah. You have to learn how to take a step back from all these rabbit holes and say, I'm an observer of all of this, and I'm taking it all in, and it's okay if I don't jump on one train, you know what I mean? It's okay if I stand back here and watch all the trains.
Right.
And be a part of all of them, and that's okay.
Yeah. Yeah, that's cool that you said that, because that reminds me of, I had Jim Self on, and he was talking about, you don't have to be part of all the chaos going on out there, because you've got your own little space that you control, and if you take a part of the chaos, it's your choice to do that, but you can, that's all a theater out there, and you don't have to take part in it if you don't want to. So if you jump into politics or religion or all these things, and things are getting crazy, you made that choice to do that, and you could have stood by, like you're saying, and just been an observer and just observe it all unfolding, which is where I like to stay.
And I'm going to say it's easier said than done, right?
Oh, yeah.
For me personally, I can sit here and be like, well, it's really easy to just take a step back and observe it all. It's taken me months to learn it.
And all it takes is one little video, a little viral video, like Eileen was talking about it, the cop that tased that guy in the back when he was already on the ground. Yeah. And that's all you take. It pulls you back. It makes you angry. You're like, how can that cop abuse his power? And before you know it, you're wanting to do something about it. You're wanting to get sucked into the chaos.
Oh yeah. And that's what Facebook is like. I've found myself lately, because I'm just bored. Just going back to the Facebook scrolling, and I'm on a lot of pages that are like, you know, enlightening and positive and
Yeah.
high vibes and stuff like that. But then you can't avoid, the news headlines and the sponsored ads and everything else. And you're like, oh my gosh, that cop totally, killed that guy. Oh my gosh. And you go off
Right.
on a little 10-minute
And then you
thing and
feel
you get
hateful after
angry.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And you get angry and you get hateful and you're like, oh my gosh. And then I take a step back from that and I'm like, what am I doing? Like, why am
Right.
I, oh my God, why am I made a choice to look at this shit that I'm scrolling through, and I made that, you have to take a step back and realize what you're actually doing.
Totally.
And
And being aware of it,
it's,
how you feel and
you
how
have
you're
to be aware of
reacting.
it.
And because it's
Yeah.
only natural to see an injustice like that and react a certain way, but to get
Right.
pulled off into it and then you start hating all cops or what, you know what I mean?
And
You're
then,
like,
and then
wait a minute.
God forbid, you go into the comments and you're like, oh my gosh, I can't
Right.
believe they said that. What an asshole. And
Right.
then you're wanting to respond, and then you see petitions and you're like, oh, I don't even know how many online petitions I've signed. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? And you go off in these little, little swirls of things. And I mean, you gotta, you gotta remember that I don't know, sometimes I wish that the internet, and no offense to any YouTube channels and you and everything else, but sometimes I wish that the internet would just shut off for like a week, you know, and just give everybody this forced break
Right.
that is needed to disconnect, because, it's hard to do on your own.
It
It's
is.
really hard.
Yeah, my
Yeah.
friend Diane, she actually called in a few weeks back, but she did the same thing. She just unplugged for a while, and I'm like, I don't know how you do it, not knowing what's going to happen. And she didn't
Well,
really
I
miss
did.
anything, you know?
I did too. For a couple of weeks, I unplugged everything, and I was like, it's not real, I'm like,
Right.
that's when I was on my, oh, it's not real, it's all fake anyway, and I turned off the news and everything else. And I'll be honest with you, I got back on and it was the same shit that it was 2 weeks before. And
Right.
there was
Yeah.
no change, but I felt better. And then
Yeah.
as soon as I started reading it and listening to it again, I started going kind of on the lower vibe, right? It kind of takes you down, and
Yeah.
you're like, oh, this world is so screwed up, and people are just, what's wrong with people? I find myself saying that every single day. What is wrong with people? Looking at Facebook, what's
Yeah.
wrong with them? What's wrong? What's wrong? And then your vibe starts lowering
Oh, yeah.
automatically, like without you even thinking about it. But I'm very aware of that now, which is a
Hmm.
huge difference.
Totally.
And I'm
Yeah, and it
now
depends on
stepping
where you're
back and I'm
going,
an observer.
If you're watching like
Yeah,
Richie from Boston all the time, you'll find and no
yeah,
offense to Richie because I've enjoyed Richie from time to time, but you'll just find yourself like really PO'd at the world. You know what I mean? You're like,
yeah,
what's with these chemtrails? And you're like, yeah,
right?
Richie,
Yeah,
there's
and then
that.
you start,
You know?
and with sensitive people, like I believe all of us are, it's really hard and it takes a toll, right? It takes a toll
Yeah.
on your energy, and you take it around with you. You sit there and watch, police shootings or whatever you see on YouTube, and then you walk out the door and you're just mad, like,
Yeah.
oh, this world sucks and everybody's just pathetic and I can't believe everybody's horrible. You know, but I've learned that, my reality is what I see in front of my eyes.
Yeah.
I'm an observer to everything else. I'm an observer on Facebook. I'm an observer to the news. I no longer take it in, and I am able to walk out my door, get in my car, and see the beauty that is in my neighborhood and the beauty that is in my city, and what I
Right.
experience every day with the personal interactions. Until I come up to somebody that's like, "You're an asshole," I'm not. I'm going to be pretty decent. I'm going to be pretty happy about my life. So I think
Yeah.
that's something that people are. It's a learning curve. It's a huge, huge learning curve. That's what
And
I'm
it
saying. The
and it
internet needs to just like shut off.
yeah. And it begins to sort of happen naturally. I know, like around the time of the really the Houston hurricane and the flooding and all
Yeah.
that, and
Yep.
you had this grouping of people that was saying that humans are modifying the weather and causing this,
Yep.
and I was choosing to look at these people helping out strangers in a loving way,
Uh-huh.
while the religious
Yep.
people, by the way, didn't want people in their church messing it up.
Right.
And I'm like,
Exactly.
wait a minute, you got the normal people just spending their time to go help other people. And it was, I don't know how many times I cried just seeing people of all these different races and cultures and
Putting them in
everything.
their boats,
Yeah,
right? Like
like
picking
like they
people
didn't
up in
care
their
what
neighborhood,
they
and
didn't care what their
yeah,
beliefs were. They're like, "Hey, get in here. I'll help
no,
you out and stuff." And that's
nobody
the type
cares.
of that's the
And
thing
that's
that
a
I
sad
loved.
thing. And I do think about that sometimes. Like, is it really going to take like a huge natural disaster in this country for people to put aside all of their stereotypes and all of their beliefs? And
Oh yeah,
unfortunately, it might. And I don't want it to come to that. Nobody wants it to come to that. But
right,
that's what happens. You know what I'm saying? Like, if
yeah,
there were a huge earthquake right now and volcano in Yellowstone went off, guess what? We'd all be best friends, and I'd
yeah,
be at your house. We would be
yeah.
sharing food and water,
And think of how
and
ridiculous it is to think of the towers coming down on nine
yeah,
11 and you're running up to people, they're covered in soot, so you can't tell what race anyone is, but you're like, "Hey, are you Christian? I want to make sure before I help you,
right. Yeah,
That's
nobody's
just
walking around with a
ridiculous.
checklist like, are you white? Are you black? Are you
Right.
brown? You know,
Yeah.
nobody cares, and that's how it should be all the time.
Oh yeah.
However, because of the way society is now, they don't do, like it's
It
gonna take
takes something
something to be
horrible to,
catastrophic.
yeah,
Yeah,
to make us sit down our petty differences. And I think it
and
was
I think,
Reagan that said that about, if we had this outside alien force attack us, then all of a
yeah,
sudden we unite as the
yeah,
Earth
we would all be
people.
one then,
Yeah,
Yeah, we would all be a human race, right? If we got
exactly,
attacked by aliens. So,
totally.
I mean, I think people need to think about that, like the possibility of that, like in everyday life. It doesn't need to be this divided and this labeled. Um, we all, we all want the same thing, right? We all want to be happy. We all want to be healthy. We all want to be not rich. We all want to be well, comfortable. I think all of us just want to be comfortable and have our needs met and the things that we want to do. We want to be able to go on vacation and not worry about it. We want to be
Totally.
able to take some time off of work, and we want to be able to spend time with our kids and our family. I think everybody wants the exact same thing. Why can't everybody realize that
Hmm. Yeah.
and live here? There's one planet, Everybody, there's one planet, there's one Earth that we know about,
Hmm.
We're on it, and come on, it's not getting any better. Like, we got to do something about it, and I think that's why we're all here. And I come back to your channel and being the platform for this type of discussion because it's something that needs to be discussed, and it's something that a lot of people are feeling and a lot of people are seeing, and they
Oh
don't
yeah.
know where to go, and they feel lost. So, YouTube, yay, YouTube, get on,
Totally. Yeah.
but beware,
Right.
because you type in UFOs or time travel, God help you.
Right.
So I got into the whole time travel, and I'm not saying it's not. I got into everything, and I'm not discrediting anything. And that's the crazy part, is that anything's possible, and I still believe that. Maybe the Earth is flat. I don't know. I don't have any proof. I don't have any pictures. You know what I'm saying? Do I believe it? Yeah. I'm gonna go ahead and say no, but that's my personal opinion.
Yeah.
Uh, doesn't mean that it's not real. Doesn't mean that it's not, you know.
Yeah.
So,
And
but
that's
I
just
think
another
all one
reason.
thing is. Go ahead.
I was going to say that's another reason to divide. Now we're globers or
Yeah.
flat earthers, and
Exactly.
instead of looking
Exactly.
at what you can both agree on, you can both agree that we can't prove one or the other, so let's just look at that.
Right.
And that sort of leads to,
Yeah.
like a video game. There's no flat earth or there's no globe in a video game because it only loads in what you can see, so it only always loads in this sort of
Right.
disk of flat earth, so in one sense it's correct. But if this is a
Yeah.
simulation, then we're arguing over something that doesn't even exist.
Yeah.
You know what I
And
mean?
no, and the point is nobody on this earth really knows,
Totally.
and that nobody knows the 100% truth. So we have to all accept that the fact that you got to have at least 1% of everything. You got to
Yeah.
have some kind of an open mind to everything. Otherwise, you're shorting yourself, I guess.
Yeah.
Um, you're shorting yourself from knowledge and potential knowledge, and I just think
Yeah.
it's important to share everything and not discredit.
Totally.
really anything.
Yeah, I
So
totally agree. Well, I'm so glad to hear you're doing better, Sadie.
yeah, thanks for listening to me rant. Sorry, I've been going on for God knows how long.
Oh no, it's been awesome. I'm so glad to catch up with you again. And gosh, I wish I could remember what the date. You said it was in February you last called, because I think it would be cool
I
for
want to
people
say
to.
it was. I want to say it was February 13th. It's on my liked videos. I know that. I want to say it's February 12th or 13th when I very first called in and I found your show. So I was looking at Mandela and I'm like, and your show popped up and you had a live, just like this. You had a live call-in show and I'm like, oh my gosh. First of all, I'm like, oh my gosh, there's live call-in shows on YouTube. Like I was clueless.
Right.
And I was listening to you. I'm like, oh my God, I have to call in. I have to call in. And then I called. I'm like, oh my gosh, Sex in the City? What? And
Right.
it just snowballed from there. So, but here I am now.
You made it out the other side, and
I made
everybody's
it
still
out the other
here.
side of the rabbit hole, you guys. So there is hope. Don't feel alone. You're never alone.
Oh yeah.
And I think that's a very important point because that's probably the hardest thing that I had to deal with throughout this whole thing is like nobody gets it. Nobody understands me. I can't talk to anybody about this.
Was there a time when
I'm
you felt like this didn't even like we didn't really exist? Like,
yeah. Oh yeah.
oh, okay. Because I've had that time early on where I was like, are all these people real, or am I just
Yeah.
like?
Well, why do you think I was emailing you from weird email addresses and I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna call in and then it disappeared. Or I would
Right.
be like, hey, I think I'm ready to tell my story and then I would be gone. Yeah, I went through those periods of like, nobody's real. This isn't real. This is some AI. I went through that whole thing too. Like the whole you're artificial intelligence and you're trying to get information from me for the future.
Right.
And I went through
Yeah, there's some
all
dark
that.
places you can go when you let your mind wander and stuff.
Yep.
Even the
Oh,
death
yeah.
thing, I was like, if this is death,
Yep.
this sure isn't anything like death.
Yeah, I know. I
It's
know.
like,
And then it's like, well, who knows? Who really knows what death is like, right? Like,
yeah,
who knows what would happen when we die? Maybe this is it. Oh my God, this is it.
right. That's why
So
nobody comes back, because they're still here. What's going on? It's just confusing. Yeah.
I literally went through like a few days where I'm like, how am I supposed to tell everybody that they're dead? Like, how am I supposed to tell them? I don't understand. And I'm gonna be put in the institution, and I'm gonna be medicated, and yeah, I went through all that, and I'm a smart. I just want to put this out there. I'm a smart, career driven. I have a good career. I make good money. I work in marketing. Like, I have my shit together. You know what I mean? I'm
Mhm.
not. I'm not like on the street doing. No offense to anybody who is, but I'm not on the street doing drugs and not drinking and all that stuff.
Right.
So I'm a stable-minded person who literally lost my mind going through this.
Yeah.
So I guess I just want to comfort other people that are potentially going through this because it comes in stages and everybody's in different stages.
And it's like a
And
double whammy too, because once you realize it, then you start talking to people, and no
yeah,
one else seems to realize it. That's almost
hmm
as freaky as the original thing happening. You're like, why am I
yeah,
the only one seeing this? That's
yeah.
why.
And then you start feeling isolated, and you're like, oh my
Yeah,
God, I'm crazy. Like, right? This is what crazy people go through, type of
yeah,
thing. And you're like, well,
totally.
I don't want to talk to anybody because everybody's going to think I'm crazy, and I just want to fit in, and I don't want to scare anybody. Or
Yeah,
yeah, there's all kinds of stages to this, and I just want to reiterate that we're never alone. You're not alone. You're not crazy. And you will. I did. I went out of my mind for a little bit, and I'm not ashamed to say that because if it helps one other person, um, that's all I want. You
yeah,
know, if it helped, if I'm, if I were to if I would have heard somebody like this call in, in March and April when I was going through this,
yeah,
it would have. I feel that it would have helped me.
totally.
And I didn't have that, you know what I mean? Granted, I was like taking my SIM card out of my phone and like I'm being tracked.
Yeah, you were
You
really
know?
paranoid at first.
Oh yeah. I went
Yeah.
through a huge
Because it does
paranoia
seem like
phase.
you're in this extreme minority, and that they're going to have to come get you and shut
Yeah,
us up, because
yeah.
there's
I
only a
felt like
few
I
of
was.
us that see through the deception, and they're going to.
Yeah,
I totally
yeah.
was. I was there too, but
That's how it felt.
that's
Like,
why I was
oh my
really
gosh,
public. I was like,
there's only a handful of us, and they know who I am.
right.
They know who I am because I'm so special.
I went the opposite way. I'm like, I gotta just be public. That way, if I disappear, people are like, where'd that one guy go? You know?
So yeah, you got the good idea. Just put it out there, get it on record, and then you're
Right.
worrying, right? I know that you were worrying like after you broadcast, like, oh, I wonder if YouTube is gonna go down. YouTube is gonna go down now. It's gonna
Right.
disappear.
And then I'm gonna disappear.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
then I'm gonna disappear. Nobody's gonna know, you know.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
Luckily, I saw people going crazy before I got it. So once I got it, I'm like, oh, this is why people were freaking out. Now I get
Yeah.
it. So I didn't freak out ever like a bad way. But it was like I woke up in a sci-fi movie or show or something. I was like, this is
That's what it felt like to me
freaky.
too. There was a good week where I'm like, I'm in a movie. This is crazy. I can do whatever I want to, you know. And
I can't believe you quit your job and left town. And
I
I'm glad you
totally
snapped
left
out of it, though.
everything. Yep, I left everything. I disappeared. But I
Yeah.
came back. There is hope, people. You come back.
It was a nice vacation from the mind, right?
For sure. Yeah, and explaining it to my boss was fun too. So.
Right. Oh, wow. What a trip.
I know.
Without the LSD and stuff. So.
Yeah, dude, this is no drug. That's the thing. I totally quit drinking. I totally stopped smoking pot. I wasn't taking anything in. I wasn't even microwaving things. That's how paranoid I'm like, no, there's destroying the food in the microwave. You know,
Yeah,
I was on all that. Like, and I was 100% cleansed of whatever. And yeah, you can easily lose yourself in this. So just a caution to just remember to step back, come back to reality, ground yourself. Grounding yourself is so important. I
Yeah.
couldn't stress it enough. And I was not doing that. I was just out there floating, you know. So
Actually,
grounding
I
yourself is important.
came across quite a few people who smoked weed early on, and I was like, I think the weed kept us from losing our memories or something, because I know it messes with our memories. And I've talked to so many people that smoke, but I've talked to people now that don't. So, but yeah, early on, I'm like, man, we must have coated something with resin and
Yeah.
we maintained
I
our
know.
memories.
I
But
went through
yeah,
the
I've
whole
gone through a
chemtrail
lot
thing
of.
too, like, oh my God, there's something in the chemtrails that's
Right.
making us. Like I went through that whole thing too. There's, oh my God, they're poisoning us, and we're seeing all this stuff, and there's DMT in the chemtrails, and
Right. Yeah, I went down that hole too with wondering if
yeah,
these memories in Planet. They're so vivid. I know
yeah,
it used to be this way. Maybe they. And then you have residue that sort of pulls you away from that. Thank God there's residue,
yeah.
because
Thank
I don't
God,
know. I
right?
would have got lost in that hole for sure.
I
You
know.
know.
Just remember to come back to center, because
Right.
everything else, it's all external, and don't let it take you down.
Totally. Well, thanks again for calling in, Sadie. Lots of love to you, and don't be
Yeah,
a
thanks for
stranger.
talking to me.
I
For
promise I
sure,
got
I'm
rid of
back.
Sam. So.
I'm back now. Like
Okay.
you know the reason why, and now
Right.
I'm back, and I'm back.
All
So it's
right.
good to be back with everybody, and thanks for having me. And been a long talk. Sorry I talked so long.
Oh no, everybody enjoyed it. They were saying don't apologize because they enjoyed the talk, and I enjoyed the talk. So
Oh, good,
it
good.
was nice having you check back in.
Yeah, for sure. Keep on keeping on, Shane.
All right, thanks a lot, Sadie. Lots of love
Love
to you.
you.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Well, that was awesome. I'm gonna give that. I don't ever rate my Facebook calls, but I'm gonna rate that one a 5-star. That was awesome. Yeah, it was good to talk to her again, and yeah, I was really surprised. I should have mentioned that, Sadie. That oh gosh, there was another Sadie that joined at that time, and that was really freaky because I thought I met you and another Sadie that has a channel at the same time. So, and Scott thought this too. We both thought both of the Sadies were the same Sadie. So when I was talking to you, I'm like, yeah, I saw you on your channel. You're like, what? I don't have a channel. And then only added to freaking you out, I know. So apologies there. We should have brought that up because that's kind of a funny story. And then, so yeah, that was really freaky. But it all worked out. So lots of love and light to the chat. Let's see here. I could probably do one quick one. Let's see. Awesome. Thank you very much. Oh, let me get your name off of there. See, actually, I'm going to probably call it a show. We will be back tomorrow night, though. Lots of love and light to everyone in the chat. And, oh, I just looked and it's at 1:44:44 for the elapsed time. That was pretty freaky to see all those fours. Amy. Let's see. Let's see. Freaky story. The one you shared earlier, Sherry? Sadie. Welcome to the light side. Yeah, we got to be real careful not to get pulled in and to be there for people that we see getting sucked into the weirdness, because it can freak you guys out. I mean, when your reality is changing right before your very eyes. And, oh, overprotected said the Truman Show. That's totally, it can feel like that at times. And I still, I mean, even now, I still cover all my cameras. Even now that I'm on the air and I'm not using my camera's covered. I keep my phones to where they're covered. And because if you think about it, with the cell phones, they all have two cameras, a microphone, two microphones usually to record in stereo. So it's pretty trippy, because if you think about it, they can be listening and watching pretty much anywhere. And then you got the Xbox Connect with the little camera on that. A lot of the smart TVs now have cameras on them. And then, of course, the laptops all have cameras, and tablets. And you can get really paranoid about being watched at some point. I just reached the point where I'm like, you know what? I don't really care. I'm not doing anything to worry about being recorded. And I'm not going to be bothered by it. I still do cover my cameras, but it's just more of a, I don't know, a comfort thing, I guess. So lots of love and light to everybody in the chat, and I will see you guys tomorrow for the Power of 8 at 8 with Eileen from One Channel. And until then, have a good one. If you'd like to support the work I do, go to paypal.me/UOTF. Thanks.